All right, so welcome. Summer officially here. We are June 2026. So today we're going to chat about summer camp ops. As always, we are recording. If you have any questions, you can use the little hand icon at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to just pop them up as we go through. We always have a Q&A period at the end. We'll save those to the end, or if it's relevant to what we're chatting about, just pop your hand up. The team will also be monitoring the chat as well. So today, the key kind of things for our agenda, we're going to talk about wait lists. We're going to talk about our newer camp roster report, as well as kind of the out-of-the-box programs and camps reports, some Salesforce reports that you as super users or admins might want to consider looking at. We're going to sneak preview some new functionality coming up. So that's going to be new forms and some instance package enhancements. And then I'm hoping to conclude with a bit of an open discussion on inclusion camping and how you are managing that right now, and if there's changes you want to see for the 2027 season. I wanted to start off with just a quick thank you. Camp has a special place, and I think everyone on this call's heart and everyone that went to camp as a kid's heart. This is me in 7th grade going to overnight camp with my childhood best friend. So those are definitely memories that kids cherish, and this is very high value work. So we just want to say we greatly appreciate your partnership and all the work you all do in your communities to just better your communities and help out families. So just a big hats off to all of you. And we wanted to say that this was probably our best camp year yet in terms of registrations. We worked with, I think, all of you to kind of get these up and going. We tracked the registrations in the first 30 minutes of all of your kind of sessions, and we did over 12,500 registrations in the first half hour across all of our clients. So lots of registrations coming in, lots of high volume, lots of, we know parents got to get their kids into camp because that's their childcare for the year. So we just appreciate your partnership and continuing to work with us to make this the best experience possible. I want to talk a bit about wait lists. Just make sure everyone's aware of this functionality, making sure that you're communicating with your staff that this functionality exists, because this is a bit of a time saver. So in Avocado, the two kind of ways you're going to manage your wait list are either automated or manual. Right now, most of you are probably doing manual. You go to programs and camps, find your instance, week 1 adventurers. You can go to that registrations tab, select the child that you want to email a registration link to their primary contact on the account, or email the entire group and say a spot's open, first come, first serve. You do have both of those options, and these are typically available to frontline staff or level 2 staff if you permission them out. The other kind of newer piece that we have introduced in, I'll say, the last year-ish, is that we do have a waitlist automation flow now, where this is done in code. Basically, a spot opens up because someone cancels their registration. The system will automatically find the next registrant based on when they got added to the waitlist, and send them an email saying that there's a spot available. This is controlled by a couple of fields on the program. Obviously, the first one is if you're going to enable the waitlist, that turns your functionality on for sending those links and letting them register for the waitlist in the portal. Waitlist is always on currently in the menu. That is something we're open to changing going forward, but this controls your portal. Waitlist automation enabled just turns the functionality on or off if you want to use this automation. And then you have 2 fields for how long your link is going to be good for, and how long before your instance starts that you want to be able to be sending those emails. So we know with camp, typically you're printing off your rosters, your reporting, your class lists, maybe the week before. You might want to make that relative deadline a little further back so that you have a few days before the actual start of camp before you start sending those emails. So you do have the option there to say, maybe 2 or 3 days before camp starts, I don't want this automation to offer anyone a spot. You can do that on the program. And then the other thing we wanted to remind you of too is that you do have this register now button, both in the Avocado menu under the, if you have a camp division, or under your HFA, or whatever your division is called. You have the ability to register now from the wait list, or to do this from that programs and camps. So if you have kind of that later, the week's already kind of started registration, you can use that register now button to move them from the wait list directly into the registration flow. All right. So last year we introduced the camp roster report. The user story kind of for this is that camp director, who's in charge of all 12 camps running in the same spot that week or throughout the entire summer. So the roster lets you go a little higher up than our class lists. It has the same functionality and same fields as our class list report, but it lets you go across the entire division or an entire location or an entire program. So instead of me just seeing that Olivia is in week 2, I can see that Renee actually is in 3 different weeks of camp here, and see that she has amounts owed or due for certain things. So I can pull all those fields on and see all of their registrations across that larger set of data. And then the other thing we did with this is that we took our current prompts that we displayed in here and kind of grouped them by instance. So before, when we did the class list, there was a privacy request that each kid's responses be on a different page. With the roster reporting, we've consolidated that. So you can see everyone's prompt responses for week 2 Trailblazers, all grouped together when you do that. You also have the ability to export here. If you don't like the way a certain layout is, you can take it into Excel and kind of customize that yourselves. And I apologize, my slide got a little wonky when I exported to PowerPoint, but I'll make sure that's fixed for you all after. But just some other key reports to be aware of in the programs and camps reporting. We do have the sign-in page, which for the sign-in, we've added the ability to add a blank column. So sometimes certain camps will have things like, oh, do you want a freezie? Does your child need sunscreen or bug spray today only? And they're going to ask that while they're checking the kid in. You can add that blank column, title the header, whatever you want, and it'll print into your PDF display. Additionally, we do have the class list, which I think I kind of spoke about with rosters. Your group list, which if you use group management, lets you pull groups. And then the extended care and bus list, which let you see special resources. So I can see who responded yes to this specific response. For the people on this call, not necessarily your level 1 or 2 frontline staff, just some reports we wanted to make you aware of that we're seeing people using across our organizations, in case you weren't, are camp fill rate or camp availability. So having a report that shows you which camps still have spaces in them, if any, so that you can try to fill them. Attendance, if you're using Engage or you're using the attendance model, what time someone came in, what time they checked in, who dropped them off, who picked them up. You do have the ability to pull that all into a Salesforce report. Things like your total camp registrations, your unique camper registrations. So maybe I want to track that I had 500 campers, but that's actually only 100 campers coming for 5 weeks. We do have those split out, so you can see your unique registrations or your unique camper weeks. Year over year registrations, so pulling all your registrations into like a nice stacked bar graph so you can see by location if you're trending up for enrollment or if there's some changes you might want to make. Registration status by location. This is a really great forecasting report for you for the future year. If you know certain camps always have a ton of waitlisted people, maybe that's a spot where you want to see if you can offer additional programming next year. So making sure you have that report. Projected revenue, again, we all want to know how much money we're making, so making sure you have a report on where that's kind of headed. Number of cancellations and cancellation reasons. I know sometimes parents just want to make sure their kids in camp, they have a preference for maybe a different camp. So being able to track why it is people are canceling is some pretty valuable info for you. And then adjustments or financial assistance. by type. Is it a staff discount? Is it financial assistance? Is it a promotion you run? As well as the amounts. So I wanted to have a bit of a little open floor here on, obviously I give you a bunch of reports, but if there's any reports I missed that you as camp admins are using that you think are helpful for the other people on this call to know, I would love to hear. Kelly?
Definitely like email lists. So parent email by site. It would be great if there was a way to, the email reports we use pull account name. So it's difficult to do a mail merge depending on how the parents set up the account. So it would be great if there was a way to adjust those reports to pull contact name into it. But right now ours come by account name.
Yeah, I think that's something we can definitely help you with, Kelly. I know your account manager's on the call too, so either getting you that or getting you working with Mango so that you can pull those lists in there as well. That's something we can definitely chat more about. Anyone else have any reports they feel like sharing that they use? Going once, going twice. All right, moving on. If you don't have any of these reports, we do Camp Financial Assistance. All good. If you don't have any of these reports or you need help creating them, we do have quite a few of them on our Avocado Camp dashboard. We're happy to work with you to make sure that you're getting the reporting and the information you need. So just reach out to your account manager. We can coordinate if it's something like a standard report and we just need to point you in the right direction. Or if you're looking for something more custom, what next steps would be for that. The other thing we wanted to talk about was some flows. So obviously a hot topic of conversation is automations. What are those repetitive tasks that you do all the time that we can free up some time so that you can be on the ground helping your camp counselors? So a couple things we've seen our organizations using is pre-camp reminder flows, 24, 48 hours, 72, whatever duration makes sense for you and your organization. Send a reminder email of here's where you pick up, here's where you drop off, here's what to bring, here's what not to bring, here's what to tell your emergency contacts. That is a standard flow we have. We can help you get that set up if that's something you need to do. And that's not specific to camp too. You can use this for other instances if you're also not just here for camp. That is very applicable elsewhere as well. Absence notification. If you're using Engage for check-in and a child does not check in by a certain time, maybe you want to send an email. I would recommend your supervisors first, just in case they got missed before you scare a parent, but you can also go external if you did want to reach out to parents as well. Feedback loop, some of you have integrations with feedback software, but if you don't, there is the option as well, or the option to link them into your feedback software with a flow 24 hours after either their instance or their session ends or after your camp year as a whole ends. And then as well, another one is kind of early bird registration. If you have those kind of priority registrations, you have high value returning customers that you want to incentivize to come in and register, you can send those emails ahead of time. The only thing I will caution you with this is this gets kind of a little into that marketing territory. So just make sure you're following any anti-spam legislation when you're sending those emails. As always, with any flow, please make sure you test in Sandbox first. Make sure that it's working the way you expect, especially with these scheduled flows, and make sure you're sending it at a time that makes sense, especially as we get into kind of daylight savings time hours. Those can get a little iffy, but making sure it's sending where it makes sense for you and your organization. And if you have any questions, again, on configuring things, if you want some custom flows, again, as always, reach out to your account manager. They can help get you set up with those. All right, sneak peek as to what is coming. So I will shout out, I think there's a couple of them on the call, but our friends at Northern Alberta for this. We are currently working with them to do quite a substantial revamp to our forms. The key piece being the ability to assign forms to accounts and contacts, whether that is after a registration occurs or within the flow. Getting that form completion out of your registration flow so people can register faster was feedback we had heard from quite a few of you. Adding the ability to view incomplete or expired forms. So making it really obvious, adding in like that relative expiry, this form is only good for 1 year instead of good till this date, and making it really clear that when I log in, I have forms that are expired and I need to complete, as well as giving you reporting so that I can see here's all my people who have this form currently expired or currently have an incomplete form. Additionally, when you create those forms, we are going to be creating a PDF so that you have a copy of it. This will be stored on whatever your related record is. So if you're doing an account form, it'll be stored on the account. If you're doing a contact form, it'll be stored on the contact. And then our programs and bookings and instance forms will be stored on the application, as well as a certificate of completion. So quite a few of you asked for the requirement that we know who filled this out on what day, and with a little bit of extra detail. So that is also being included in this. So the key things for this is that they're going to live front and center. It's going to give you easier reporting for next year. And it's going to give you the opportunity to assign it after registration. So maybe you don't need that medical form until before camp starts. You don't need them to fill it out as they're frantically trying to register their kid in 6 weeks of camp. You now will have the opportunity to assign that after the fact. All right, and our next new piece of functionality is selectable instance packages. So this is currently just wrapping up development. It'll be going into our QA cycle pretty shortly, and then should be available within the next few months for you all. But what this gives you the opportunity to do is to group instances and sell them as a package. So previously we had functionality that did that. However, you were required to register for every package or every instance within that package. This gives you the ability to select additional instances if you would like. So you can set certain instances as required. So in my example, my adventures week 1, 8 to 4, my core camp day is my required instance. But then I have the option to do a gymnastics add-on that maybe has an additional fee, before care, after care, busing. You can add all those as optional instances. And it does give you the ability to manage capacity across those instances. So if my gymnastics add-on, all those 8 spots are full, no one would be able to select it moving forward until someone kind of drops out. These are also available in the instance uploader. So you can say, upload all these instances specifically to this package. You do just have to create the package ahead of time, but we made it nice and easy for you to map. And you do have cleaner reporting on this as well. So each one does create its own instance. So you do have the ability to report on them as separate instances. And then we've added some joint reporting for it in the programs and camps module as well. Sorry, Matthew, go ahead.
I don't know how to ask this question, so I'm going to have you redirect me here. Is there an option that allows us to say, hey, you have to pick one of these 3 options?
So we do have minimum and maximum requirements. You can kind of see it in this optional add-ons piece here, that I do have a minimum of 1 add-on or a maximum of 2 per registration. You can choose to set that, or you can choose not to set that. For things like aftercare, you might not care if they pick it or not. But for something like a course where I know my morning session is always just core camp, and then I have different options in the afternoon of swimming, gymnastics, horseback riding, whatever they may be, I can be required to pick one optional afternoon session.
And only have one, I see. Okay, thank you.
And then the other thing too is the cancellations are linked. So if I do cancel either my full day of camp or I cancel my gymnastics add-on, we are canceling both so that you don't end up kind of with an orphaned instance registration. And this is just to give you a bit of a better view that you can see aftercare is full here, so I cannot select it. I do have that minimum 1, maximum 2, and it's just in the current module for the registration flow. All right, hoping to have a bit of a chat with you all about inclusion camping. So we've heard from a couple of you that this process is maybe less than ideal, or there's some ambiguity on kind of what everyone else is doing and what maybe the recommended path is. So we wanted to give you all the floor to just kind of ask, how are you currently managing inclusion campers? Is it in line with your current registration flow? Jen, it's just controlled by the capacity on the instance. I assume that's Jen. So we wanted to talk about inclusion and just get an idea of how you're currently doing it. If it's in line with your current registration flow, do you do it outside of your registration flow? What that process looks like. And if there's additional ways we can support you going into the camp year for next year. If there's indicators you want, what would be your ideal situation? We just wanted to have an open table and see if anyone had thoughts or anything they wanted to share. Kelly?
Hi, yeah. A couple of things. So we're going to move inclusion. So right now we do inclusion registration outside of Avocado. Eventually the camp registrations move into Avocado, and we register them in the regular camp instance as well as a no fee instance that's not visible to the public to flag them as inclusion. But we do an intake form, a care plan, as well as like a first come, first serve where people submit reg forms. That's how we've done it previously. This year, we're going to try doing it using forms in Avocado. So we're going to have kind of a weekend where forms are open. Parents will complete the forms. It's an intake where we kind of ask in general what sort of support you need questions. And then we're going to, from there, try to sort it based on time the form came in and requests and the camps they want to. The one thing we would love to have is a stop registration. So if someone is in a registration flow and says, yes, they need inclusion, that a pop-up comes up saying, like, we don't want to make it like you have to say no. We would love if it was a pop-up that was like, you cannot register saying yes, you need to contact day camp, because we have to make sure that there's staff in place. So it's not an online registration format. So that would be one thing that would be, we've had lots of asks for that over the years from different staff. But yeah, we're going to try it through Avocado this year through forums and see how it goes. So.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing, Kelly. Anyone else want to share what's kind of their process for inclusion currently? Vic, I was hoping you would share.
Yeah, our process varies from program to program. So what we do for childcare is different from camp. For camp, we'll let a child just register straight, and then we follow through the process after the fact. And if additional supports are needed, we're figuring that out before camp starts. I think the ideal situation, what we would love to see is if we can do direct registration. We do that for camp right now, but we don't for childcare. We put everybody on a wait list and then manual process it for childcare. The ideal for us would be everybody could register. And if a child is flagged as inclusion, whether it's we're having those handful of questions that we want that will identify those children, it's still going to hold their spot in that placement. They're taking up that space and holding it while we complete the process. So they're not, losing out. We want to make sure they're still being counted for. But yeah, our biggest hurdle right now is making sure a child is getting the supports they need without just going straight into the program. So we put a lot of stops in place before that can happen, which can be frustrating for parents.
Yeah, and that's kind of why we wanted to also have this conversation, because it's definitely a fine line to walk with, like making sure you're accommodating, but also not putting people at a disadvantage from getting camp spots because they are so in demand. So we wanted to see what everyone's kind of doing, and if there's just, again, those kind of feedback things on what you would like to see going forward. I know this is going to vary between all of your organizations as well, but if there's common themes and things we can do to help, we're here for you guys. So Kelly, you have your hand up again?
Yeah, Vic, I just had a question about that. So your families register online and say they need inclusion, and then you try to match, or one-to-one, and then you try to match them with staff. What happens if you're full? Like if you're full for your one-to-one?
Yeah, and that's we have a couple different things. So for our day camp programs, we have a specific day camp like program that it's we call it Helping Hands, where they're going to get matched with the staff. We have a certain number of spaces. If we can't accommodate that in that, there's a couple different things. We'll work with the families to identify, does this child need a one-to-one? Can they be supported in a reduced ratio where it's maybe, a 5-to-1 instead? Whatever. Well, it's a little difficult to say. I don't work directly with our inclusion. I kind of am off to the side. So how they identify this and make those decisions is out of my scope of knowledge. But yeah, we try to accommodate as many as we can. Unfortunately, it's still going to be a first come, first serve like camp. But at that point, we do have, here's our set number that we can take and support preemptively. So.
And do you guys have any barriers? I know you're out of camp. I'm out of camp too. I don't one support children. Do you have any needs that you can't support? Like we have certain things that we're not equipped to do. For example, toileting, we don't have proper facilities and training to support that. So how do you prevent families from registering in the program who might have, or is that just something that's reviewed, and if you can't support, you refund? Or
yeah,
okay.
We take it case by case. If we can't support it, we're having those conversations with the families and refunding them, or we usually have a time period before they're being charged unless they do payment up front, where we can kind of identify and have those conversations before the family gets charged.
Okay, so we're just kind of assessing before we register, but you guys are assessing after registration. We've kind of been going back and forth on the best way to. Yeah,
it really depends on our programs. If it's a child that we know we have in our before and after school or our full day programs throughout the year, we know we can plan, we can have those conversations before camp registration opens. But if it's a new child to us, we're doing what we can when we have the information.
Totally. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Sorry, Matthew, before you go, I was just going to read out, Jen, I don't know if you're able to share, but if not, I'm happy to read. I don't know if you are able to chat about YSM and what you all do. On the road. Okay. I was like, I'm wondering if this is like a voice to text. So I'll just share so that in case anyone can't read the chat. YSM, they originally were doing it the HBB way, but they went to a separate camp instance with separate prompts this year, open registration prior to regular registration. Still a bit of a challenge, but doing it before kind of helped get those supports in place, I guess, ahead of letting all the standard registrations come through. Matthew?
Well, I don't know if I should open the can of worms, but it might be totally politically incorrect, but I'll still ask it. At one point, there was a lot of sensitivity about even asking someone if they needed inclusion. Is there still challenges there, or has that kind of gone away? Because I haven't heard anyone talk about that in about a year now. And there was a time when everyone was very sensitive to it.
Me and Vic both turned our cameras on at the same time. So it is, you can never deny someone the opportunity to register. We just might not have like the staff availability. So we make sure they know that. So we have a child guidance policy that we have on our website with like red light, green light, yellow light behavior. And we send that out to parents all the time. We kind of flag through the forms if there's something we need to follow up on. And then this year, we also did assign a form after registration, not going great in terms of getting parents to actually complete it. The instance by instance having to go through, we're large, we're 20 something sites. And so we're quite big. And so and we do 3 age groups of sites. So going through instance by instance is quite difficult. But we're hounding them for sure. And that is, we're calling it a camper support forum. And the idea is to try to kind of get parents to share more information. So tell us if, you know, they have anxiety or behavioral issues. Tell us if you have strategies in place. But yeah, we ask outright if you need one-to-one. And then on this other support form, we ask a little bit more kind of probing questions.
I know it's hard, and the reason I bring it up is just because at one point when it was years ago when we were asking the questions about how to set up certain things, there was a lot of direction about not asking certain things, and I could never really figure it out how to accommodate it. But interesting. Okay, so it's still a challenge. It was very sensitive. I think there was some other associations. Thou shalt not be named, more in the larger cities of Canada, that were going through some lawsuits. So I think there was a lot of sensitivity to it at that time. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing.
Awesome. Does anyone else have anything they want to share about how they're doing inclusion, or if there's any things that would be helpful for next year? Going once, going twice. A scene before you miss the deadline.
Nothing to add.
Perfect.
Thanks, though.
Going 3 times. All right. So that is all we have. Again, we just want to say thank you for your partnership. We know this is a big part of a lot of your businesses, and we really appreciate you being so collaborative with us and bringing us along with you. Again, I hope you all have a fantastic camp season. I hope everything goes swimmingly. And if you need any extra support, our support line's open. Feel free to open that ticket or give us a call. And if you need anything kind of custom that maybe isn't out of the box, reach out to your account managers. Happy to get on a call and discuss requirements if we want to do something custom for you in the future. But thank you all again. I hope. Oh, sorry, Matthew, go ahead.
Emily has put a comment in there, and we have heard that request as well, Emily. So Rachel is aware of it. I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to ask a follow-up question. In terms of being able to flag subsidized campers on your registration, do you want to be able to flag them ahead of time? So we've heard this as kind of a request, and I just want to see, I'll pull the room while we're here, that if someone's going to be applying for subsidy, that maybe their payment isn't due that day. So if typically you take payment immediately, but you know they're applying for a grant or financial assistance, is that also something you'd be interested in, or anyone else would be interested in? Kelly?
It seems everyone does it differently. I'll just make sure I point that out before we start. Go ahead.
We would love if when you're checking out, you had an option to pick kind of from 4 different, so either a full payment, an extended payment plan, applying for municipal subsidy, or other financial assistance. And if you were doing financial assistance, it would be a $0 due at registration. That would be great, because right now we have to process all of our subsidy campers manually, basically. And we are working in terms of trying to get them to do their forms online. But yeah, an option at checkout to select from different payment plans would be great.
Awesome. Same registrations that have a fee that was subsidized. We want.
Yeah, we're often trying to report on how many campers or how many registrants in these programs were subsidized and not subsidized. And sometimes to what degree they were subsidized as well. But the primary piece is right now we have to pull that in directly through like the order item or GL, which is a few objects away from the registration record. So we can't get as much robust data around details on the instance or the program or the registration itself. And so we're combining reports are very limited in scope as to what we can pull.
Okay, thanks for sharing.
Just back to your question, Rachel, about, do you let the customer select their payment, pay now or pay later? We've heard some people say they don't want the very thing that you mentioned, and we have heard that some want to be able to have the customer say, yeah, I got to apply for subsidy so I don't have to make a payment today. So we heard both. And it'd be interesting to do a poll to see, you know, what the policies are across. We don't have to do it right now, Rachel, but, you know, just to understand which way it's leaning. Sounds like we might need to do both. It's the reality. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll leave the floor open if anyone wants to bring up, this is kind of open session. Again, I have to use my product manager. We are not committing to anything right now. It's all going to be prioritized accordingly. But just if there's anything kind of features for camp or anything that you want to share about how you're running camp that's working well, the floor is open. But other than that, if you don't have anything you need to add, thank you so much and have a great day. And yeah, we're here to support you through camp. And I don't have quite the same robust energy that I used to have as a camp counselor, but I'll leave the cheer up to your counselors and your teams. But I hope you all have a great camp season.
Thanks, Rachel. Appreciate everything. Thank you, everyone else, too, for your partnership.